Well, Sandra, welcome back. Another 3 years. And what three top priorities have you got for this new term?
Oh, kia ora, Tess. Well, very, very excited about the coming term. And yesterday we had the most amazing inauguration at Waipatu Marae and then in our chamber. We've got a fantastic council. We've got new, fresh energy and we've got experience and knowledge. And so we're going to have an incredible 3 years in front of us. We've got some big priorities and finishing our water strategy next year to get our storage opened and our Waiaraha, our world's first education centre on water opened. So that's going to be big. That's 5 years of delivering safe drinking water across 7 small communities, 2 town centres and our city. Our second big priority is housing, but it's actually probably our number one now. Delighted with the progress we've made over 3 years, but we've got a lot to do. We've now vacated 4 motel units from people living in emergency accommodation. So our new housing in Flaxmere, 150 first homes will be built in the next 3 years, but we're working with the government on a big plan to roll out more social houses and also market houses coming to market across the district. So housing is going to be enormous for us. Our population is growing in Hastings, about 6% last year, so we need more homes and we need affordable homes. So our council is really focused on housing and it'll be our top priority. Another priority is our CBD and inner city living. So our strategy started in 2013 about revitalising a city. As we know, cities have changed. People shop online, about 70% of people in New Zealand shop online. So what is a city going to look like in the future? For our city, we want it to be full of people working, living and enjoying our city. And so we're really focused on people living in our city.
Okay. So you've had a lot of success with housing already.
Yes.
What's the recipe? Why do you think?
Well, we started as the first pilot in New Zealand. It was a Hastings place-based housing plan, and what that means is the right house in the right place. And so we identified how much land we were going to need and rezoned the land accordingly. And then we've got out and worked with our partners. So council, we can't deliver houses on our own. So we've got some housing land in Flaxmere, but we're working with our private sector partners and government partners and iwi partners. So that's 5 different housing models. That's papakainga with our iwi partners, that is market houses with our developers, that's affordable houses for our wider community to have first home buyers and first home owners and getting people into a home. And that's more affordable rentals. So having rental stock is really important. And the 5th one is RSE accommodation. So it's housing for our RSE workers. So it's 5 parts to a plan. Our team meets with the board across all the partners every month, and it's a delivery plan. So we've got a big delivery plan on housing.
Okay, well that sounds fantastic. And I just briefly touch on Plan Change 5 and medium density housing in Hastings. This is going to be a whole new thing, exciting new thing for Hastings.
So what's really important is how people live in the future, and for us, our fertile plains and our productive soils we have to protect. That is our region's GDP that comes from our land and the Heretaunga soils. So we have seen about 350 hectares of land, good fertile soils go into development, and we have to make sure we don't do this in the future. So our Plan Change 5 is about identifying sites in and around our parts of our city, around parks and reserves that could be higher density. And so there are lots of areas now that we've notified our community to say these are the areas that could be higher density. So far it's been well received, and it's going to make it easier for development to happen. And also people have changed. Our young people are coming home. They are used to living in apartments and townhouses around the world, and we want to offer some stock and some different models of living. And our first one will be our 18 new apartments in Queen Street. And it'll be our first people living in the city But you have to have the amenity and the green space next door, and so that's what we plan to do. It'll have a access way, laneway through to Hiritonga Street, to our main street, so people will be able to go out to the cinema, go to the hospitality and the new restaurants and bars, go to Toi Toi Arts and Events Centre, and just live our city. And so we are making our city vibrant and beautiful and attractive place for people to live.
Okay, and going up more than out.
That's right. No more sprawl.
Yes, yes. So what are the tough issues that you might face this term?
Well, the biggest issue for us is the reforms with government. Right. So local government reform is enormous for us, and we'll be putting our best foot forward to make sure that our Hastings residents have the best arrangements. Right. Localism for me, I live, eat and breathe it. I'm passionate about our local community having their voice and having their say in everything we do. So whatever these reforms look like, we want a model, unlike a national model, where we actually deliver for our community through local government. So I'm very passionate about local government and retaining a voice and being able to deliver more for central government. So that's a big challenge for us, is what our local government will look like in the future. The government will release their first part of their review. It'll come out in March next year, and we've fed into that review. So we want to be able to deliver things like employment, housing, and because we know our community's needs and we can react and respond to them. Right. So that is a big challenge. Obviously the Three Waters is a huge challenge for us. What's different from us is, the Three Waters reform started right here in Havelock North. Right. And so we have invested now $90 million in safe drinking water. That's not to say that in 30 years' time, when our consent for wastewater expires, we'll need to build a wastewater treatment plant, right. Which comes at a cost of about $600 million. Right. So we support a reform. We have a model for our region, and our regional Three Waters model, we're hoping that the government will look favourably at it. It's so far, they are staying with a 4-entity model, but we're still advocating strongly for our Three Waters model.
Okay. So while we're on water, why is the Hastings District Council appealing the tank decision?
So what's really important for us is our growing population in Hastings and across Hawke's Bay, and it's making sure that we have sufficient supply for our municipal supply of water. What we are going to do, though, far more efficiently and really strongly now, is teach people the value and importance of water. And so Waiaraha will do that, how to conserve water, how to have different surfaces so we're reusing water. And that's going to be a really big focus for us. We've got a new committee, it's called Eco Districts. They've got an action plan, and we'll be working really closely to look at how we educate our community to protect our precious tonga, which is water.
Do you think that Hastings growers and farmers need water storage of some kind going forward?
Oh, I think that, you see what we've just been through with the enormous floods, and I think the collection and our rivers been, expanding to their banks. There's a massive opportunity for us to be able to collect and store water in times of flood. And those options that have been considered at the moment by Regional Council in parts like Ngararoto, that river, and, we need to explore these options for future.
Right. And talking about climate change, Cape Coast, have you got any thoughts on where that's going to go, what needs to happen?
So Cape Coast is it's our jewel in our crown. It's the most beautiful one of the most beautiful parts in our district. And so we've been working on a strategy for a long time with the community to identify, what's going to happen 20, 50 years' time. And so it's been a great piece of work. It's been all the councillors across the region have been designated to help on this coastal hazard strategy. So the first part was we protected our corner of Cape Coast with all our infrastructure with a magnificent wall, and that has been really effective. So we've been doing, as a district, Hastings District Council, doing our own work. There's the opportunity in front of the H18 that the community have come together and want to continue the wall along, and that conversation will continue next year. But the bigger thing for me is actually the climate action. And so as our region's leaders met on Monday, we looked at the opportunity to have a climate action committee, regional committee, that makes sure that has councillors sitting on it to look at how we can support our community to manage climate in the future. I mean, we've had the big storm in Napier, and you know, these big storms are frequent now, and we've had a drought 2 years ago. So our climate it's very obvious is changing. So, but sometimes people feel paralysed and not sure what they can do to contribute. So that is the piece of work that we want to do through this new regional committee called a Climate Action Committee. And certainly Hastings, Napier and Regional Council were interested when we had the conversation on Monday, and whether Central and Whitehall will be involved. That's what we're working through now to look at how do we do this better than we have been. We've got to wake up, but we've got to help our community, because as we're all responsible for the change in climate, and a council can't achieve this on their own. So this new committee that we have, Eco Districts, has got an action plan, working very, very closely with Regional Council, and then hopefully having a wider regional model to look at climate action.
So will transport and how we move around our towns be one of those things? Like, are we going to try and get more people out of cars and onto bikes and onto public transport? And how do we do that?
So the My Way bus has been working really well, and so that was a trial for Hastings. We started, and now it's moved to trial to Napier, so that's been fantastic. I think as far as the cycling strategy goes, we've got a lot of work to do there. And so, you know, we live in a very flat, beautiful part of our region, and Hastings has the opportunity to expand its safe cycling network. We built, so in 2011, we were the first in New Zealand to build a cycling network, and we got the funding from the Crown to build that cycling network. We need to expand now. There is a lot more people commuting from parts of our district, like Havelock North, to the hospital, and so we are looking at a cycling movement strategy, and we've sought some funding from the Crown to help us develop. It's all about safety. We've got to get people safely through. So we've got the traditional old footpaths, and so how do our footpaths, so with the shared footpaths we have in parts of the district, work really well with cycling and walking and sharing off-road. The off-road is the key. And so it comes down to having the right amount of funds, putting them in the appropriate place, that when we do roading upgrades, we consider cycling at the forefront. So that has to be a priority. We started off with a hiss and a roar, and I'd have to say that, you know, in the last 3 years, with managing through COVID and managing through our water strategy for the last 5 years, probably we haven't had the emphasis on cycling and active transport like we should have. I see the kids biking, scootering every day to school, so we've been doing a lot of work in our schools with school programs to get kids getting active and getting to school. I go out and give them awards if they have achieved getting so many children not in cars to school. So we're doing a lot of work in schools. But in terms of adults and cycling, it's putting cyclists first. It's a worldwide issue, but we have to take a really positive approach here. We've got very flat plains we live on, so it's easy for us to cycle. It's just changing that mindset and making it safe.
Okay, well that's good to hear, because I'm cycling around the town. So 2 more questions. Do you support the Tiawonga Film Studio?
Look, we have been supporting their thought, having a film studio for Hawke's Bay now for 2 years. The team came and talked to us. We've got Eastern Screen Alliance, an amazing group of passionate people that want to work with some studios. We've got a team who wants to build some studios here. It's about right place, and at the moment there is a hearing process going on. Everyone's been able to have their say through that process, the local residents, the local community, and and the film studios to identify the best place for the studios to come to.
Right. But you would like to see a film studio here?
In Hawke's Bay, absolutely. We've got so many people that work in the creative community that live here, and they have these big opportunities to bring international film here. And so, we welcomed them to find the right site, and now they're going through that process to identify what is the best position for them to be in.
Okay, so here's my last question. We're turning 150 next year.
Oh, we're so excited. We're fabulous in Hastings, when I think about our history and my ancestors, my great-grandfather started in Havelock North, the first baker in the area, and they moved to Hastings. Havelock was going to be the town, and it was going to, and then what happened was they built the railway to get access to the port, and they set it up on our plains in Hastings. In hindsight, was that the best place? 150 years ago they thought it was. But we have these amazing fertile soils, and Hastings City sits on those. And so the railway was built there and right through the middle of the town, and it built all around a railway line. There's only one other city in the world that has its city built around a railway line. I think it's somewhere in Spain. And so we're going to celebrate the beginning of our time, the Makirikiri River, that stream that used to run through our city, and it was dammed by our forefathers. It goes under the Opera House, out through the New World. And so we're going to celebrate all parts of our journey, our relationship with mana whenua. So the first Māori Parliament was at Waipatu in 1840. So we'll be celebrating all parts of our 150th. Hastings being called Hastings, our journey through where we started to where we celebrate today with 17% of our community is multicultural. And so we've got this, amazing multicultural community now that we welcome, who helps us with all of our wonderful cropping and our industry and our production. And so we're going to proudly celebrate our people.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Sandra.
Oh, thank you. You didn't ask me if I'm going to stand again in 3 years.
Well, thank you.
And thank you.
That's great. I learned
Thank
a lot.
you.
Thank you.